So it's no secret old Dilboy's only got a couple of fights left. He's trying to get to that glorious number 50 like old Moneybags did, and that final fight is very likely to be a bit of a spectacle. We're hearing rumours of Francis Ngannou out in Africa, maybe the Dillian White trilogy, even the dishevelled Deontay Wilder's name has been thrown in the mix, and I'll tell you what, fuck it, I'm up for that one. A few years back when Wilder was sending heads to the fucking moon, it probably weren't the best fight for someone like Dilboy, who tends to take a lot of punishment. Old Deontay has never been good enough to beat the big boys, but he certainly was good enough to beat Dilboy back then. But now, personally, I'd say they're on a relatively even playing field. Anyway, regardless though, yes, number 50 will be a cracker. It will be memorable and, of course, for very good money. Which will do him a favour, by the way, because apparently you can only afford half a fucking haircut these days. Have a look. Anyway, yes, it's bound to be a nice little retirement fund for him, and deservedly so, because he's been such a great servant to the sport. But, until that time, we've got Otto Wallin. Fucking hell. How Dilboy's managed to make this 10-rounder a headline act, I'll never fucking know, but there we go. So yes, number 49 this Saturday is up against a man who's mostly famous for taking Fury all the way and giving him a cut, then getting absolutely walloped by AJ. No offence to Wallin, but there's not much else to hang your hat on, really. He is a very good fighter, but he just don't quite have the razzmatazz or the glamour that you'd expect from a big fat chaotic Dilboy fight. You know, it ain't really got the needle, it ain't got bad blood, and dare I say it, there's kind of a lack of anticipation for a knockout, if you know what I mean. However, having said that, there is one big problem for Dilboy. With ambitions to make that monumental 50th, he really needs to win this one. But style-wise, Otto Wallin ain't exactly ideal for him. We'll come back to that in a minute. But yes, going into Saturday, Dilboy comes off that juicy win against Joe Joyce, which was rather unexpected for a lot of people. Certainly fucking me. I couldn't see him beating the Juggernaut on points in a million years, but there we are. And then for Wallin, he sneaked in a cheeky little fight against Hurrah, this bloke in July last year, which he won in the first round. But in terms of a real test, prior to this, he comes off that destruction from AJ back in December 2023, which was not too unexpected. Now, Wallin's a bit of a funny one, really. Scouring through his record and watching his fights, you look at him and think, okay, awkward southpaw, some half-decent wins below world level. He gave Fury a really hard time. All in all, he must be a bit of a handful, this bloke. But then, he went and had that AJ performance, and he was absolutely battered and bullied for 5 rounds before deciding enough is enough. That performance really has taken the wind out of his sails. It seems to have killed his momentum, and it's harsh to say, but it's also diminished a lot of the fans' interest in him, because they're now questioning his ability and his heart, which is something Dilboy alluded to in the face-off. By the way, if you ain't seen this face-off with the brilliant Dev sandwich, make sure you watch it, because it's fucking brilliant.
So what about this guy? What do you think?
Good fighter. He's a good fighter. He's a good fighter. But he lacks one thing though. He hasn't got a heart. They all don't have the heart.
So Dilboy actually done this to Joe Joyce as well last year. He said, Joe, you're not about this life, bruv. You're not cut out for it, but I definitely am. And whether that played a factor in the fight or not, I don't know, but he did walk away the victor. But for Wallin, to be fair, Del is right to question this, because even though AJ was heavily on top of him, he never actually touched the canvas in that fight, and he seemed to have all his faculties still intact. The only real problem we could see was that his nose was apparently broken, which led to him and his trainer calling it a day. So as Dilboy is alluding to, is that a justifiable reason to retire from a fight, especially one of that magnitude? You'd have to say probably not. And a better question would be, would the great Derek Chisora retire on his stool after only 5 rounds when a fight isn't going his way? The answer to that is almost certainly not. And before you say it, I know he retired against Fury after 10 rounds the second time, but that was down to pure exhaustion. Wallin weren't exhausted in the AJ fight. To be fair though, he done us all a favour calling it a day in that fight, because it was catastrophically fucking boring. Anyway, Dilboy was happy to say words to this effect straight to his face.
And in the day you go in and fight in front of the whole world, you want to place your punches. You don't want to. You take the safe way out, the easy route out. You know, you didn't really bother Anthony. You know, don't understand what happened to you that day. You just froze.
And from here, you guessed it, you won't be surprised to know that Dilboy won the war of words by an absolute country mile.
I did tell you, you got upset, and I apologize for that. You shake my hand? Fuck off, you. Told you know about this game, bro.
And lastly, this for me was the highlight of the whole episode.
What happened when you sparred?
No, we had good work.
You can
It
say
wasn't
it,
as
man.
long as I expected, but you know.
The reason why I sent him home is because his manager was charging me 10 grand a week.
What?
Yeah.
I got like $1,000 a week.
Oops. Oops. Me and my big mouth.
Well, if that's true, it wasn't my manager. I don't know who you're talking about, but
Oh, I mean, bloody hell, come on, Otto, he's winding you up, you great big yoghurt. You've fallen for it hook, line and sinker, and he's tied you up in knots. Fucking hell, there we are, see, that's the great deal boy for you. Unpredictable, always away with words, and always a total menace. Any upcoming fighters, take note, copy this man in any way you can, and you'll earn plenty of dough plus garner a mega loyal fan base guaranteed. Anyway, in a nutshell, this just pretty much proves Dilboy's point, don't it? Wallin really ain't about the same life that he's about. With absolute ease, he's gone and mentally broken the Swede here, completely scrambled his brain.
You don't have it in you. I'm telling you, I've been around the table with so many fighters. Yeah, but you don't have it in you. You don't have it in you, because I'm gonna break your heart. If we're talking fight talk now, fight talk now, I want to break your heart.
okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, putting aside all that bollocks, in the grand scheme of things, the talking don't matter because yes, it's all about what goes down on the night. But we do have to ask the question, was old Wallin potentially overrated before AJ? Was he just a bit overhyped because of the Fury fight a few years back? Well, that's up to you, I suppose. Personally, I'd say that he's a solid European and fringe world level contender who can give fellow opposition at this level a lot of problems. But of course, he's just not dangerous enough to compete at world level. So yes, in a way, very similar stamp to where Dilboy's been hovering about for the past 10, 20, 100 fucking years or so. It's been a long time, innit? And on paper, that makes this fight rather close, wouldn't you say? Although, what is not close, however, is of course the astronomical amount of high-level opposition Dilboy has been in with in comparison to Mr. Otto Wallin. Now granted, out of all them world-class fights, I'm talking about the likes of Usyk, Tyson, Klitschko, Parker, etc., Dilboy's actually won fuck all, not a sausage. But he has still been seriously competitive and more than held his own in every single one. And based on that alone, it's easy to say convincingly that Chisora on paper is the better fighter and should win quite comfortably, to be honest. The problem is though, he's looking a bit fucking old these days. Yes, Wallin at a fresher 34 years old compared to Del at 41 is certainly taking the advantage in terms of youth. I mean, if this fight had been 5 or 6 years ago, I feel like there's only one winner. But now, it probably ain't so cut and dry. Now he can be relatively fleet-footed at times, old Wallin. He's happy to use all the ring, rely on his boxing skills to get him through and chip away to get a win by decision. So in this fight, I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the outside all night, jabbing away and getting Chisora running round and chasing him. A tactic that is bound to tire the big man out as well. I mean, having seen Wallin fail miserably at trading with Joshua, I find it very hard to see him trading anything big time with Chisora. He just ain't got the dangerous power to get enough respect, and ultimately it's just not a method that works very well for him. So instead, as we've seen from what is potentially his best performance against Gassiev, he is a lot more successful not getting greedy, utilising his jab, generally being the boxer and the mover. He's now coming up against the brawler, so as the saying goes, make sure to box the brawler. And this is why personally I feel it could be a bit of a bad look for Chisora this fight. I'm not saying he definitely loses because he's certainly more powerful and more experienced than Wallin. I'm just saying this ain't the usual style that suits him. For this, he needs someone in front of him like a Dillian White or a Joe Joyce to which he can unload bombs all night and make it a dogfight, but Wallin probably ain't going to be like that. When Dilboy's having to chase them around the ring like he did against Gerald Washington or Gashi or Kabayel, he often makes it look like real hard work, which could be even harder work now since age is catching up with him. So if old Otto does manage to stay out of harm's way and is able to pick Dilboy off all night, then personally I can't see anything other than the Swede outboxing him to a decision win, to be honest. What the fight will depend on is if Dilboy can smother him, cut off the ring and hurt him just like AJ did. Whether he can do that remains to be seen. The one thing that old Dilboy has got on his side though, however, is the fact that it's 10 rounds, so he will be able to expend a lot more energy than he would do for 12. But then again, does that actually play into the hands of the younger, fresher Wallin? Who knows? Anyway, we shall see. Like I say, Chisora has always been the better fighter, but fight by fight lately the age is showing. and I just think it's a funny old fight for Dilboy to take as a stepping stone into that big 50, but there we are. He obviously sees something beatable in Wallin, and maybe it stems from their sparring back in the day. Anyway, bring it on, let me know your thoughts below.